Hey everybody, Z Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at a sci-fi card game called Pocket Mars. In this game, the players are going to be managing their colonists to try to get the highest score by taking them from Earth, putting them on their spaceship, and then deploying those colonists to different locations in Mars that trigger different effects, things like that, while also playing cards that allow them to trigger special actions. Let me show you how it works. It's a fairly small game as far as components go. We'll come on back after that, and I'll tell you what I thought of it. This is what the game looks like set up and ready to begin. You have the different places on Mars. You are going to have a spaceship that tracks how much energy you have. We each start with one. And then you have one colonist already on your ship. The rest of them are just in a common pool, and that's Earth. And you have the deck of cards over here where everyone is going to be given 4 cards from that deck. And then you take a look at your 4 cards, and you are going to pick 2 of them to be in your prep module and 2 of them to be in your hand, all right? So for example, I might do these 2 in my prep module. They just go face down in front of me somewhere. The other 2 I'm holding on to in my hand. My other player here would do the same thing. And then you're ready to begin. So the idea is to try to get as many victory points as possible, and we are going to be scoring points for a few different things, but mainly where these colonists end up at the end of the game. The end of the game is when you've used up all 7 of them and they're all out there, when someone has finished placing them all out onto the Mars locations. But you are going to get, the scoring is based on a few different things. So 1 colonist on a ship, that's worth 1 victory point. For each one that you've placed in a building on Mars, depending on where it is, you are going to get either 2 victory points if it's in this area here, or you're going to get 4 victory points if it's in this area. To note, this area can hold as many as you want. This area can only hold 1 or 2, depending on the number of players. So say with 2 players, a single cube can be in this side of the each station. So you're going to get 2 or 4 victory points for that. And you are also going to get a victory point if you have the highest energy level on your ship at the end. And then if you've got at least 1 cube in the 4 buildings here, in these 4, not the suited ones they call them. This one is different. Then you're going to get 2 victory points for that. And if you've got at least 4 of your colonists in any one building, you are going to get 3 victory points for that. So again, a bunch of little points for a bunch of different places you can be. All right. So what can you do on your turn? Well, on your turn, you are going to take an action, and that action can be one of the following things. You can play a card from your hand. You are going to play that card. You are going to do the top thing listed on the card. So for example, this one here says, switch 1 card from your hand with 1 card in your prep module. Okay, I could play that and then switch these 2. Fine. The other one I had in my hand said, switch 2 cubes, 2 colonists, between the 1-star and 2-star areas in a building of your choice. All right, very nice. A little bit of a take that, but, I can switch myself in and switch someone else out. The other options are, I can play a card from my prep module. And this is a little bit more complicated, but it basically goes like this. I'm going to pick one of my cards here. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to play it at the matching building. And then I'm going to trigger some things based on what that card is. So, if the card number is higher than the previous card played there, or if there is no card, the building number, in this case it is, that's a 4, building is a 3, then I am going to get to put a colonist from the ship onto the building, on this side of the building, all right? Second thing is, I may trigger the bottom action on the card. In this case, use 2 energy to take 2 colonists from Earth. Can't do that right now, but if I had enough energy, I'd be able to take 2 colonists, put them on my ship. And then lastly, I get to trigger the power on the place itself. In this case, gain 1 energy. Great. I gain 1 energy. And then, after you take your action, by the way, I would draw back up and make sure I have 2 cards in the prep module, 2 cards in my hand. So that's another option I have. Again, play a card from my hand or play a card from the prep module. Third option I have is I can play a card from somebody else's prep module. And that, I know what color I'm getting, but I don't know what the number is. So I'm going to pick it, I'm going to play it. They are going to get the bottom power. I am going to get the building power. So it basically allows me access to a color I'm not drawing myself if I want to trigger the building, but I am giving them the power on the card, which, could very well be quite beneficial for them. And then 2 more actions, which are very simple. I get to take 1 colonist from Earth and just put it on my ship. That's it, very straightforward. Or lastly, I can discard a card from my hand or prep module and gain 1 energy. And then, again, draw back up on all that. And that's everything there is to it. You are going to be manipulating your cards, using the different powers out here on these buildings, playing your prepped module cards, playing sometimes your opponents if you really need that number, being careful about that color rather, being careful about trying to play numbers that are higher than the previous ones there so you get to deploy your characters and so on. So I'm just going to go ahead and do I'm going to say that I did that. I'm going to play 1 there. I gained an extra energy, and then I draw a replacement card, and from these, I'm going to play 1 onto my prep module. And it would be my opponent's go now, in which they're going to take a look at this, and they will play this one from their hand. It says, take 1 colonist from Earth and gain 1 energy. This is simply discard it, and they draw a new card into their hand. Back to me, I am going to play this one. Take 1 from Earth and gain 1 energy. Great. Discard that. Draw a new card. Back to my opponent. They are going to play this card here. It's higher than the printed number, so they are going to put 1 of them here. Then they are going to take a look at 2 cards and any other player's prep module, so they would see both of these cards. And then they get to do this, which says put 1 card from your hand or prep module on the bottom of the deck. I like this one, so I'm going to get rid of this one. Put it on the bottom of the deck, draw a new one, and then finalize my turn by going up to 3 and locking 1 down here. That's basically it. As you can see, little different powers. That one you just heard. This one lets you move a cube from one side to the other, whichever way, in any building. This one lets you move 1 colonist from your ship to a building of your choice, take 1 from Earth, gain 1 energy, and then the powers that show up on these are all largely variations on that. Mess with your energy. The energy, by the way, you usually spend it to deploy more people and draw more cards, move them around, try to control different places. It's basically just, what you're trying to do is get in there and lock it down for more victory points. Having a lot of them in one place is good, and having 1 in each place, that's good, as I mentioned in the scoring. And this one here doesn't actually have any cubes placed on it. All of those cards are always zeros, by the way. So you would just play that for the power at the bottom of the card, and then the power of the building itself, but you would not put a colonist on that card. It doesn't hold any. That's it. Once you run all these out and they're all out there in different places, you score and you see who the winner is. So let's do that. Ooh, look at that. Done. Well, and these. Usually, obviously, 1 person will run out and the other one will likely have characters on Earth, which are worthless, by the way, or on their ship, which are worth 1. That should give you enough of an idea to see the kind of little powers that are at play in this game. So let's go back up top, and let me tell you, now that you see how it works, how it feels. That is Pocket Mars, so let's talk about it. I'm going to use my target audience system here, and we start with thematic ties. Now, I really like this theme. I love exploration, colonization, Mars games, all that stuff, but as far as how thematically strong that is to what's going on in the game, I'm not really feeling it. I'll come back to this issue in, I'm sure, a couple of times, but the game feels like you are pushing around a bunch of cubes, getting cards, dumping cards, more cubes, back to pushing cubes, back to cards. So it didn't feel thematic to me. Nothing in it screamed Mars. This could have been anything. And so while I'm not giving it a negative because I do like the theme here, I am also not giving it a positive because it's not, the ties aren't there. That's what's missing for me. The aesthetics, on the other hand, I think are fantastic. Cards look great. The artwork is nice. The iconography is solid. That all works. And so I'm happy with that. I think the cubes are cubes, but they're functional for what you need them to do. So that's good with me. Definitely like the look. I like the production. I like the size. It's a tiny game. Very well done from that point of view. Replayability and scalability, I think is not so great, actually, because the game is fairly swingy and lucky, and it combines two things that don't make me want to come back to it, and that is that it feels like a cube pushing game, which is fine in a game that feels very strategic and interesting, if dull, and again, by cube pushing, I mean that, just sort of gather this and turn it for that, and then put it over here, and then get some victory points at the end of the game. But it combines that, which is usually coupled with strategy and choices that matter, with playing cards that do wildly swingy stuff. I cannot discern a pattern among the powers on the cards. This one gives you 2 energy. This one gives you a character from Earth and an energy. This one gives you a character from Earth and 2 energy. Why is that one better? Clearly better, right, than the other one? I don't know. It just is. It seems like they came up with a list of powers and then slapped them on the cards. It's like, okay, these powers are all cool. Yeah, all right, boom, go. So I'm not charmed enough to come back to it. Even the beautiful artwork and the setting don't do it, Game length and downtime. It's fine. Game length is okay. I would play with fewer players if I had the option, but I think the gameplay is fine. It says 15 to 30 minutes on the box. Yeah, somewhere in there. It depends. With more players and your learning game, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, it's a short game, and thankfully it's short because I don't think I could take the combination of cube pushing and wildly swingy and long. So thankfully, it's a short game. I'll give it a plus here because it is its brevity is appreciated. Ease of play, which is fiddliness, iconography, design choices. I'm happy with all of that, except for, like I said, the game feels random in many ways. When it would appear, it's telling you, hey, I'm not a random game. The way they pitch it, the way they say it's so strategic, the back of the box says, Pocket Mars is a fast-paced and wildly dynamic card game, but don't let the short playthrough time fool you. It's a heavyweight filler. I don't know about that. It's a filler with a heavyweight theme that still plays like a filler card game. And so, while I think the iconography and the way everything looks on the table makes you think, ooh, yeah, there's some meat here, the actual implementation of having basically 4 cards or a random pick from someone else's, and again, it's not random for you. You know which building you're triggering. Doesn't feel like oomph for me. It doesn't feel like, wow, yeah, there is so much here to tackle. This time I'm gonna win with this strategy. No, you kind of do the same stuff. Just get those colonists out there, put them on the good scoring side, and go. And then lastly, tactics and strategy and luck and randomness. I'm not saying the game is devoid of tactics, okay? There are things you do. You are not rolling dice every time you try to take an action. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying, ultimately, that they have married a cube-pushing game, which I really was hoping this wouldn't feel like a cube-pushing game, to card powers that do nothing but facilitate cube pushing. And so there is no spark here for me. Having said all of that, I think the game is charming. I think it's well produced. I think some people out there are going to like this as a filler game. If you enjoy Euro games and you want something short and you're not upset about the luck, I think you'll like it. For me, I was hoping for a game that wouldn't feel so mechanical. Every action you take in the game feels very mechanical and therefore quickly monotonous. Maybe not in one sitting, but certainly after you play it a few times, you are just grabbing the cubes from this place to this place, and from this place, they go to this place. You push your little tracker up, you push your little tracker down, and then the game's over, and you get some amount of points. That's it. That's how it feels to me. I'm not condemning this one, okay? I don't want to sound like I'm destroying it, you know what I mean? But it is not one of my favorite fillers. It is not one I'm going to continue coming back to, unfortunately, because I love the look of it. From a gameplay point of view, it's just a so-so game, you know? It's average. And average is just, unfortunately, not good enough anymore, you know? There are so many good Mars games. There are so many good small games. Do you need both at the same time? Well, if you do, then here you go. Pocket Mars is for you. If you don't, and you can play those two things separately, then there's a lot of options out there for you. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Z Garcia, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.